Monsters and animals in films and media are represented in a way that has the tendency to humanize and ostracize them, personifying human fears and desires. This is called anthropomorphism. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, anthropomorphism is defined as an interpretation of what is non-human or personal in terms of human or personal characteristics. The Cambridge Dictionary also defines anthropomorphism as the showing or treating of animals, gods, and objects as if they are human in appearance, character, or behavior. Some examples of this include Lilo and Stitch, Frankenstein, and a documentary Blackfish. The term anthropomorphism was referenced as far back as the late 1800s when Greek philosophers and Athenians had begun to criticize the term and observed that people had begun modeling gods after themselves. Some examples of anthropomorphism used in the media sometimes come across as humanizing non-human counterparts, which in turn allows room for ostracizing these characters. An example of this is the 2013 documentary Blackfish, highlighting the ethical complications of capturing and exhibiting orcas, also referred to as killer whales. In one particular case, a 2-year-old male orca, Tilikum, was captured and forced to live in captivity under the supervision of SeaWorld with a collapsed dorsal fin. Tilikum lived at SeaWorld until his death in 2017, living a much shorter life of 36 years. Orcas can be known to live as long as 90 years in the wild. This film raises a lot of questions in relation to the ethics of anthropomorphizing Tilikum and how he is portrayed. The whales were trained by specific whale trainers for their performance skills at SeaWorld. However, during multiple training periods, it was hidden from the general public that multiple people had been attacked and some even killed. The fact that these whales were starting to get violent and dangerous to train was concealed. There lies an argument where some people believe the whales being held captive are in tanks too small for their needs, resulting in a lot of frustration in the whales, causing them to act out. Opposing this is some footage of orcas in the wild attacking a seal in a very similar way they had been attacking the trainers. So the question that begs is, are they frustrated or are they just acting on instinct? By assuming the orcas are frustrated, we are humanizing their actions as we try to make sense of the behavior, allowing room for sympathy to be given to the orcas. Although, does this cloud our judgment of the reality of the situation, being at which we forget these animals are in fact animals respectively? A brief look at Frankenstein, a novel written by Mary Shelley in 1818, provides understanding of a young scientist who experiments with the building of a creature. The creature in question, Frankenstein, is referred to as beautiful, while also bringing with it horror and disgust. When Shelley writes from the monster's perspective, readers are given some insight into its thoughts, that of which are, "The gentle manners of the girl enticed my love," while another quote says, "I longed to join them, but I dared not. I remembered too well the treatment I had suffered the night before from the barbarous villagers. I would remain quietly in my hovel." Both of these excerpts are clear examples that evoke a sense of emotion within the monster, in turn humanizing them. It's almost as if the novel implies that the monster of Frankenstein is innately emotional without being innately human. By humanizing the monster character, we can see how having these human characteristics can suggest underlying desire, longing to be part of a neighboring family of villagers, and fears that they won't accept him. This helps us to sympathize for the monster as it becomes clear that the monster just wants to be welcomed. Similarly, a 2002 film, Lilo and Stitch, sets yet another example of anthropomorphism. The story of an alien, Stitch, and his found family, Nani and Lilo. This film looks at human fears as quite literal in a sense, being the unsecure family network of Nani and Lilo. Without parents present, Nani is left to supervise, support, and raise Lilo. We see Nani struggle to find a job securing income to provide for the two of them. This is quite a big responsibility that demonstrates Nani as a partially absent parental figure. However, when Stitch crashes into Earth and adjusts to living with humans and observing dogs and humans alike, he also adopts quite human or human pet behaviors. As Stitch assimilates into being part of this family, this helps to portray the desire of a secure family network. By the end of the film, this literal alien who has been encompassed in a human lifestyle doesn't want to leave the secure family circle that he has made for himself.
This is my family. I found it all on my own. It's little and broken, but still good. Yeah, still good.
I also feel like a subtle underlying message implies that Stitch having particularly canine similarities, that getting a dog, although difficult at first, makes things better, and I can attest to that. Through an empathetic lens, anthropomorphizing occurs when we can relate ourselves to the subject through similarities and an attachment or bond. Anthropomorphism helps us to understand the process, that of which we are observing, by relating it to our own human experience and conditions. This is beneficial as we learn to empathize for animals and other sentient beings. In contrast, we often assume that monsters, due to their appearance, actions, and mannerisms, are unlikable and must feel violent or aggressive and are rough. Through this alternative lens, we become distant from the reality that the non-human subject is not at all human, does not have the same knowledge or access to knowledge as humans do, and therefore do not experience or perceive its living conditions the same as we do, resulting in the mistreatment of monsters in stories. This can be problematic because if we perceive an animal to be aggressive either during play or with other animals and recognize that as frustration within the animal, this may not at all be the case and insults the animal's experience. Realistically, it is the animal's instincts to attack or defend themselves just as they would in nature. The outcomes of using such tools in texts and media conclude how anthropomorphism shapes our understanding of things that are not inherently human. Anthropomorphism isn't simply good or bad, but a tool of which helps us to express a deeper meaning or message in a text, helping the audience to understand what is being portrayed in a way that is human, helping to relate to the issue at hand, whether that's fear, desire, or another human emotion. Anthropomorphism, although it may distract us from the true nature of what non-humans experience, how they think, and how they function, help us to sympathize and show empathy for them and be open-minded when it comes to incorporating non-humans into our shared existence. Anthropomorphism is a tool used in text and media to help better understand ourselves, relate to others, and process the experiences we are having.